Hey guys, it's Bridget with San Diego Seed Company. I want to talk to you today about carrots. Carrots are a very humbling crop, and sometimes it can be really hard to get them started, especially if you're in zones 9 and 10 and you have really hot, dry falls, which we do. So what are some of the secrets that we've learned over more than a decade of growing in zones 9 and 10? Well, here's some tips. First, it's really important that you sow your carrots into nice, soft soil. So I've got a nice carrot bed here, and I've just topped it off with some really good G&B organic soil. It's nice and soft and fluffy, and that's what I want. I want to create a nice, soft seed bed so that I can plant my carrots into them. Another reason why you want to top it off with some good soil, it could be finely sifted compost. You just want something light and fluffy that the seeds can easily stick to, because I'm going to show you a little trick on how to plant them where we actually don't even cover them with soil. I want to flatten my soil out so that I have a nice even area for the seeds to sit on, okay? And that's because when we water them, we don't want the seeds to go everywhere. It's easy to wash the carrots away, wash them under too much soil, things like that. The next thing that I want you to remember is that carrot seed doesn't like to get too hot. In temperatures above 80, they're really gonna germinate sporadically, slowly, so you wanna keep them cooler. Well, in our hot, dry climate, our little secret is row cover. So this light cloth here is white, so it's reflective. It's gonna reflect the sunlight off of the carrots. It's gonna hold in moisture. It's also gonna help us keep off a little bit of the pests and the insects that are gonna try to attack it. So after we sow the carrots and after they've germinated, we actually cover it with this row cover. You can see that all three of these beds here, where I've got several successions of carrot sowings, have been covered with this cloth, which make it really nice. Carrots and all seeds require ample moisture to germinate, and so if I sow seeds into this soil that's really dry and lightly water, I'm not gonna get good germination. So let's actually deep water this bed real quick. All right, so I'm gonna water with this really nice watering system. This is a dram hose adapter, and you'll see it just gives me a nice rainfall-like effect, and I'm just really gonna water this really well. Now, what I would recommend if you're at home doing this is actually water a couple hours or maybe even a day before you plant your carrot seeds. That way the water has time to soak all the way through, and you can water several times if needed. So I have this beautiful seed bed ready. Now let's actually plant some seeds. So I've got some carrot seeds here. And what I'm gonna do is I am actually just going to sprinkle these carrot seeds right on top of my bed. I'm doing this because I can see where I've put the seeds. I can more or less try to spread them out evenly. Not a big deal. I'm gonna teach you guys how to thin your carrots as well. But you can see the seeds sitting on top, which is nice. It allows me to know where I've planted it. Now, this is really high quality seed, so that's probably enough. If you've got seed that's not as good or a little bit older, you can actually plant them even more closely together. You can sow them thicker and then thin afterwards. But I know these are all gonna sprout, so we're just gonna plant that much. Next, I have vermiculite, okay? Vermiculite is a product that's commonly used in gardening practices and greenhouse mixes and things like that. The reason why we use this is it's super light. It's also a great contrasting color, so I can see where I put it. And it's going to keep the carrots moist, but it's also going to allow them to germinate really quickly. When we use this method, on average, our carrot seeds will sprout twice as fast as when we cover it with regular soil. So I'm just gonna keep covering this nicely. And there we have it. The last trick for our seed starting is we're actually gonna cover this with a piece of plywood. You can use burlap if you want. You could even just use this row cover. But the point of covering the seed is so that it stays dark and moist the whole time so that it can germinate. So I just have a piece of scrap lumber here, and I'm just gonna set it, look at that, it fits almost perfectly. I'm gonna set it right on top. We will leave this on there, and I'm gonna check this in about 2 days. I'll check it every day or so. And the moment that I see one little sprout pop up, I'm actually gonna pull this off, because that sprout has indicated to me that the others are very quickly going to sprout right behind it. I'll pull this off when they have germinated, and I will cover it with my row cover here. And that's it. In a few days, they will all germinate, and you will be amazed. You will get beautiful rows of carrots just like this. You can see these were actually sown about 4 weeks ago, and you can see how thick I did them. I got a little carried away. So let's talk about with these guys what you would do to thin them. I know thinning is a terrible thing. It's so hard to do because you're killing these little baby carrots, but if I leave them like this, I will have spindly, tiny, ridiculous carrots that are barely worth eating. So a very easy way to go in and thin them is to simply, I'm using my hand very lightly, and I'm just plucking out a few of them at a time. This is a really easy process. You don't have to be perfect. There's a weed in there, get that out. And the reason why I do it like this is because I'm pulling out the ones that have just germinated. So they germinated slower than the other ones. So they're not nearly as healthy. And they, they're just not as vigorous, so I want them out. And don't be afraid. I know it's hard because you're looking at these perfect carrots and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm thinning them out. But if you don't do it, you're not gonna get good carrots. So we do this just as easy as that. We do this every week or two. And then what'll happen is, after a while, I'll notice that I have a good spacing, and I'll leave them in. As the carrots get big enough to eat, I'll actually go in and thin the carrots and eat the ones that I pull out. And I actually have some carrots in another part of the garden that I'll show you exactly what that looks like. Okay, so here we have some carrots that I direct sowed in September, so in a very hot time of the year, but I used all the tricks and tips that I've given you, and now look how amazing they look. Fast forward, so September, October, and now we're into November. Now, I've gone through and I've thinned these a little bit, but I wanna show you what I mean by thinning and eating. So we've got a nice little row of carrots here, and they're much too close together. So I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna thin them, and what I can do is I can actually pull out this little guy, and I'm gonna eat this. I'm gonna take this inside and give it a little bit of a rinse, or not. Crunchy, but delicious. And this is not gonna get wasted. So what I'm doing is I'm thinning them, utilizing that crop, and allowing for more space so that the other ones can get a little bit bigger. So that's an easy way to thin your crops and not feel so guilty about it. Those are all of our carrot tips, and honestly, I really believe with all those tips and all the years of growing here, I think that you can utilize them and you can be successful at growing carrots too.